Thank you very much. Well, I think that's a lot to get us started. I'm going to take advantage of being the chair to make a couple of quick editorial, editorial comment, and then I'd like to raise one question, then we'll get going, and then we'll open to the audience. From the editorial comment is this: from a university perspective, and thinking about how faculty become stimulated to get engaged in activities like regional economic development, I think there are three things we always have to keep in mind. First of all, we have to keep the basics strong and funded. And that, by the way, is the message of rising above the gathering storm. It's not about how do you do this, how do you do that. It's about we got to have strong basics in this country. And our public universities, I need not tell you, are in trouble right now. So job one is to keep our educational system strong and indeed strengthen it. And as part of that, I'm not afraid to use the P word, Luis. We do have to start thinking in intelligent ways about productivity in higher education. We have to. The second thing is faculty need to find out that there are really interesting problems and challenges to be worked on in the sort of innovation and small company and so forth activities. That's a lesson you have to learn. Once you catch the bug, you can become very enthusiastic. And the third part, and I'm not going to spend take a lot of time here, but universities, even places like MIT that have a century of tradition of working very directly with industry, they have trouble working with small companies. You know, I can tell you exactly how to work with DuPont or IBM or what have you, but working with small companies that don't have a lot of support to put on the table to people who have to keep a lab going and feed their students, it's really hard. That's the fundamental challenge. It's not, for the most part, it's not the faculty don't want to do this, but we really have to help them through that. So the question I kind of wanted to throw out there, I was very interested that the first two speakers both talked about the role of universities in sort of aggregating and interpreting data for people. And I wonder if Dan or Aneesh, either of you or either of the others, could comment a little bit more what you think universities need to do in this regard and how we might stimulate it or show them some best practice or what have you.
Do this? Okay. So let me just amplify a little bit more around what I think is the infrastructure opportunity. You know, by any measure, American Society of Civil Engineers, you know, 2.2 trillion infrastructure gap over 5 years in their 2009 report. They'll update it in 2013. But the reality is, if you dig under the hood of that source of data, it is surveys, no knock to the American Society of Civil Engineers, but within different states, there are thousands of localities. There are people that have gathered up lists by legislative mandate. There are people that have gathered up project lists to chase stimulus funding, you know, in 2009 and then put them aside. There are lists that have been lying around for a while. 2-3 years later, you know, number one, what a community wants to do collaboratively, whether it's around energy or wastewater treatment or even infrastructure as skills and innovation ecosystem, however they want to define it, there's not a common data template there. And most importantly, if the funding stream for this is going to change from plain vanilla municipal bond financing to complicated new asset classes of different types of investments, energy efficient schools, bundled water and wastewater treatment plants, you know, broadband systems, these towns and cities need all kinds of help in developing and using the cloud, in doing local technical assistance, and helping them bundle projects so that, you know, for instance, I'm very involved in the Clinton Global Initiative, CalPERS, CalSTRS infrastructure initiative, and Oregon's been involved in that. And, you know, the CalPERS, CalSTRS has a term sheet on the table right now. If you have projects from $100 to $300 million in these certain areas with some revenue stream from ratepayers, you know, whether it's tolls from bridges or wastewater fees or broadband fees, they want to see those projects. I guarantee you in most cities and towns, the ability to pull that together is not around. So how do we fill that gap? I think, you know, universities just like that are not going to be doing it, but at the same time, I think in terms of how you train public policy leaders and a range of stuff, all the universities have the centers, I think it's a huge business opportunity and it's a huge gap that's going to be there the next 10, 20, 30 years in this country.
Aneesh, any comments?
Well, let me just try to take it down to the sort of practical level. Very few institutions have the capacity a university does to help the country transition where the big changes are happening. A healthcare system that pays for value over volume needs a massive amount of data about what's considered quality and what's not. One example, Cleveland Clinic did a study in Cleveland, 27,000 patients that have diabetes, that every third-year medical student can tell you they should get their blood pressure checked and their foot exam and the eye exam. They studied patients. Did they get those things? In paper-based charts, only 7% of the patients got those things. In electronic record systems, doctors that had those, 51%. On outcomes, they found that did they actually get their blood pressure under control and stop smoking and all those sort of things? They found that about 12% of the paper-based systems achieved those outcomes goals, but 44% in the clinic. You need a Cleveland Clinic and a university ecosystem to sort of figure out, oh my goodness, is that what we're doing in our healthcare system in the region? And just as an example of an opportunity, Medicare has, we have a law, the Affordable Care Act. Every qualifying research entity that would like Medicare's claims files for your region to be able to produce quality scorecards for the healthcare system, you can apply now. It's like 40 grand to buy the data set and amalgamate that. Chuck, if every university-based, especially academic medical center-based, isn't in the business of helping shape the community's awareness about their performance gaps in health value, how are you supposed to see us transition over the next decade and beyond to a pay-for-value over volume system? On education, again, in K-12, we're going to see the same pay-for-results situation. Instead of butts and seats, with all due respect, we'll have to pay for mastery. You know, I met a 5th grader in the Khan Academy program that finished calculus because he spends 3 hours a night watching the videos in California. Now, we don't officially recognize that kid as having completed AP calculus. I bet you could take it next year, Chuck, and get an answer. How much data do we have knowing right now what are the right learning objects on the web that achieve the most response? Well, we published the learning registry. How many universities today are learning registry nodes to be able to tag all that online content and help quality rate to ensure that the right stuff is in the hands of the right teachers in the K-12 environment? Someone's got to do that in the neighborhood. Why not the universities? Take energy. I love the fact that the EPA does their annual Battle of the Buildings contest. Last 2 years, I've witnessed university buildings have won the contest. North Carolina, last year, 25% reduction in energy use in a student dorm. Not because they added solar panels and did fancy wizardry. They literally mashed up occupancy rate data with their HVAC controls, and the combination of the two meant that they could turn the knobs and else, and they lowered their energy bills. 30%, Chuck Fest. How many of you today have built data systems to capture, if we need to instrument our energy system and environment, why don't we start with our own buildings? You all, I mean, more letters have been written by university presidents how they're going to be energy efficient. But I've not seen no data system structure, no civil engineering collaboration with whatever computer science analyzing this data. If we literally move to an energy efficiency world, we cut 10, 15% out because of better information about what to do, what not to do. I met that MacArthur Genius fellow from University of Washington. He's got a little widget. You plug it into your house, and it tells you whether the washing machine is on versus the, a brilliant, unbelievable story. I asked him the question, if I overlaid real-time energy data from the utilities, which we're making available in California via a green button this Christmas, if you mash that up, because Aneesh, I could create an app that tells people, do your laundry in the evening, not in the afternoon, because you'll save. How many universities are building that kind of data infrastructure for the community? And then lastly, Emily's here, manufacturing. It is amazing to me. We did this collaboration with Boeing, John Deere, Procter & Gamble, and a couple of universities, Purdue, NanoHub, NanoHub was the thing, and manufacturinghub.org is what they built. Just using open source modeling and simulation tools A dozen we're doing the speech tomorrow actually. All these small businesses are saying they've gotten more revenue, more contracts, because they used modeling simulation techniques in lieu of, proving a prototype that they couldn't afford to fund. Every single university today could leverage the Purdue manufacturinghub.org and teach your local manufacturers how to, get this. And they're all small to medium-sized folks. You are the hub of making relevant all of this free and open data and making them situationally aware in your neighborhood. If we don't have a movement around this at the university community for economic growth, man, shame on us. We've missed a huge opportunity.
Those are both terrifically helpful. I can't help but tell you, Aneesh, that 20 years ago, one of our dorms at MIT put in a little system that sensed when the washing machines are going to be used. So
Seriously?
And you know what happened?
Tell me.
They got sued by IBM.